You know that feeling? It's a rainy day, maybe you're feeling a little down, and you put on a really heartbreaking song, and somehow you feel better. It's weird, right? Well, today we're going to get into a short but really powerful reflection that dives deep into why we find that strange kind of comfort in sad art. All right, let's jump in.
So the author, Pierre Martin, he kicks things off with this really personal confession. And it's a feeling a lot of us know, but, we don't really say it out loud. He's not just listening to sad music. He's actually finding it to be the sweetest sound. I mean, what's that about?
And that brings us to the first big idea in his reflection. This almost contradictory love for sad stuff, for melancholy. It's not like he enjoys being in pain. No, it's about something way deeper, something that really connects with our own lives.
Okay, so the author explains this connection in a really personal way. He hears a singer singing about a lost love, and he's just like, that person, they resemble me so much. It's this deep feeling of kinship, right? Of finding a brother or sister in misfortune. And just like that, in that moment, he doesn't feel so alone anymore.
And this is where the whole idea really starts to expand. It goes from being this personal thing to something, well, universal. We're not just talking about one guy finding a song he likes. We're talking about something fundamental to being human.
I mean, come on, we've all been there, right? When you're heartbroken, it feels like this huge, epic tragedy that has never happened to anyone before. The author really nails this very human thing we do, where we think our pain is totally unique, like no one in the entire history of the world has ever felt this exact way.
But then he hits us with this really powerful insight. He says our unique tragedy, it's actually part of a timeless pattern. We're just, in his words, repeating eternal stereotypes. Basically, we're playing out the same stories of love and loss that people have been for forever. And look, that doesn't make the pain any less real, but it does kind of put it in a new light.
And that right there is where the comfort is. It's realizing you're part of this long, long human story of heartbreak. The weight of it all, suddenly it feels like it's being shared by everyone who's ever gone through it. The burden gets lighter because you know for sure you're not the first one to carry it, and you won't be the last.
But just when we're getting comfortable with this idea, feeling all connected, the author completely shifts gears. I mean, he throws a total curveball. He introduces this dramatic, really challenging new perspective that makes him and us rethink the whole thing. And this is the critical question he poses. So, okay, he's found comfort in knowing that heartbreak is a shared thing. But then he asks himself, what about other kinds of suffering? Much, much bigger misfortunes. Is his romantic sadness really in the same league?
And this is where he just lays out these stark, devastating examples. Suddenly, the pain of a broken heart is being compared to the suffering of victims of war or famine, or a father who's lost his child, or people whose whole country was just wiped out by a hurricane. Wow, it's a really powerful and humbling moment of perspective, for sure.
So now his internal conflict is just crystal clear, right? On one side, you have his romantic heartbreak, which he now calls a benign misfortune. And on the other, you have these unimaginable human tragedies. All of a sudden, moping around with sad songs seems almost like a luxury.
So, where does that leave him? Does this mean his pain isn't valid? Is that comfort he found in the music just fake? Well, this final section is all about trying to bring those two very different realities together.
And this next part is just such a powerful, honest admission. Because even with this new perspective, even knowing that other people suffer so much more, he says his own pain is still real. He says, I tore my heart out, and the wound is still raw. And that's the key, isn't it? Perspective doesn't erase your pain, it just gives it context. So to sort of resolve this whole conflict, he lands on this perfect metaphor, a balm. Now think about it. A balm isn't a cure, right? It doesn't magically make a wound disappear. Its job is to soothe it, to comfort it, and to help whatever was damaged start to heal. And that brings him to his final beautiful conclusion. He doesn't love sad songs because they let him wallow in misery. No. He loves them because they are a balm. They're a balm on a very real, very raw wound. It's like medicine for the heart, giving him that comfort and that feeling of not being alone that he needs to start healing.
So, what a journey, right? The author takes us from this really personal connection with a song to this big universal truth about heartbreak. Then he challenges that whole idea with a dose of harsh reality, and finally lands on this beautiful understanding that art can actually be a healing balm for a very real, very human pain.
And that pretty much brings us to the end of his reflection, but it leaves us with a question for ourselves. Whether it's a song, a book, a walk, whatever, we all have our own balms. So it really makes you think, what is it that soothes your sorrow?